How's it going, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Crypto Clout. I am your host, FaZe Crypto. So, of course, we have some pretty interesting news. Bitcoin possibility of mooning. Of course, we did see the price sort of jump back into the mid 7,000s, which of course was an interesting development. And now we're looking at market cap of 197, 194, 904, 940. Of course. So anyway, ni hao. Happy 2020. It has been a very interesting start to the year. I'm sure many of you are talking about a lot of the recent events in the news, so we'll be covering that as well. But I'd like to start off with Cardano to be the most predominant force by 2020 end, according to Charles Hoskinson. So the Cardano ecosystem has long been touted as one of the most innovative blockchain networks in the industry. So this is a very relevant article. It does speak to a lot of the themes that we discuss on this channel quite often. The CEO of IOHK, the company behind Cardano, Charles Hoskinson, hopes that ADA will be the most predominant force in the cryptocurrency space by the end of 2020 and expects to become a true social operating system. That with the launch of its much-awaited incentivized testnet, the team learned a lot about stake pooling and the business of maintaining a cryptocurrency while creating stability. During the latest AMA session, Hoskinson said that 2020 could indeed be the year for Cardano, and he added, "We are especially interested in investing resources at IOHK and our partners for our Mergo and the Cardano Foundation, and invested a lot of time to make sure that we fully understand and are as we exit 2020 and we go throughout the decade. This is something we continue to do research and better. So overall, I think that this is pretty relevant. I think Cardano is in a pretty interesting place now as far as where we're going to be seeing Cardano moving and advancing in the future. So of course, data suggests investors are giving up on XRP. This could fuel a parabolic rally. This is also thing. We'll be getting and diving into that as well. CME's Bitcoin Futures drops premium rates for March 2020 contracts. All these different articles and more I think are more than relevant right now. New SLP Telegram bots introduced to Bitcoin Cash supporters. Then of course I also want to talk about Ripple dumping on market, Cardano better than Ethereum, and building infrastructure, crypto rating. And I think that this is overall relevant to what we sort of talk about is sort of a central theme of discussion on this channel, which of course is like Bitcoin as the introduction of cryptocurrency, sort of the public being acquainted with the concept of digital gold. Then of course Ethereum being like the next logical evolution upon that trajectory, and of course looking forward to seeing something like Cardano as they are essentially positioned to really dominate, I would say. As far as the fact that they've managed to do quite a bit in terms of in terms of just overall building that infrastructure, scientific validation, and of course the foundation that they've able to construct for themselves is a force to be reckoned with, and it's one that is not at any point matched by any competitor cryptocurrency at this point. So it will be interesting to see how Cardano dominating the crypto space by the end of 2020. I think it is fairly plausible to see something like this on the horizon, which of course is something to keep in mind. The concept of a decentralized public blockchain and cryptocurrency project is fully open source, definitely does have a nice ring to it. And of course, as we're looking forward to the future, and we could be seeing, of course, Bitcoin Advocate claims future will see emergence of thousands of cryptocurrencies. This is an interesting article as well. Of course, and within those, I expect we'll see a classic power law distribution where 1, 2, or 3 systems will dominate more than 50% of the value, maybe not a lot more than 50, and the leader may only have about 40%, but the tail is so long that the next 3 companies and the next Of course, and it wouldn't have more than 20. Of course, many currencies that have lesser economic value but have other forms of utility, perhaps more flexibility for transactions or smart contracts or other things like that. I think we've gone from a world where there are very few choices to the there can be an overwhelming number of choices, and I think that sort of does hit the nail on the head when we want to talk about. I mean, Cardano, I think one of the strongest things that it has going for it. When we want to talk about smart contracts, we have that conversation, that sort of data, bend in that overall context. I think that it will be very interesting to see. Now, and of course, in the background, we've got Federal Reserve adds another 57.7 billion to markets for 2020, yet another case for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general, I would argue. So it will be interesting to see how a lot of these different aspects, situations, and dynamics are going to be overlapping. And of course, how we're going to be seeing the reputation that Bitcoin and the like have presented for themselves leading up until this point. I mean, currently we've got Bitcoin dominance at 68.1%. So it will be interesting to see how that power differential is sort of divided amongst the different entities that seek to have a stake in the future of this growing and of course increasing paradigm shift, as we see multiple different companies noticing just essentially when it comes down to your wallet, when it comes down to what the amount of cash that can be saved, the different choices that we've seen, along with just Cardano being seen as a solution in a lot of context to a lot of the different problems that are often brought up and spoken to in regards to just keeping track of products, and using Cardano sort of in that same sense, keeping track of different aspects of economics and all these different things as we move forward with sort of the Internet of Things, and we see 2020 really coming into its own, 2020 vision sort of perspective here, looking at what we're actually going to be able to expect in terms of seeing how cryptocurrencies are going to be reshaping a lot of the different dynamics. And this is in part going to lead a lot into countries. I would say I would point towards countries that were often referred to in the past as like third world, which have one thing going for them, which I often bring up: lack of red tape, lack of regulations, lack of these things that are the heart and soul of more quote unquote developed countries, which I would believe are in danger of falling behind in the technological revolution, as far as we see greedy hands trying to hold on to the past paradigm. Well, of course, the innovation and of course population boom that we'll see in places like Africa, very much recognized by much of the innovation that we see happening along the lines of cryptocurrency, sort of forward thinking futurists who will definitely do a big part in terms of making banking the unbanked and using the power of the internet to its fullest advantage. Well, of course, we see a perfect storm of 5G, and of course wide availability of smartphones and all these other things are very important things to keep an eye on while we move forward into this next decade. And I would say just the controversies and all these other things aside, I mean, not necessarily going to get too political, but I mean, I would honestly still be in the frame of mind to say that we're still sort of seeing a dead cat bounce. I'm still expecting to see large drainage of the value of Bitcoin and the like. I would say that the space is still largely inflated by a lot of hype, and nothing more hype than what's currently going on, involving a lot of the different situations that global events, WW3 stuff like that. I see as sort of bullshit. I don't exactly expect much of it to amount to anything in the short term. I would say that right now it's more important to not panic, not get too wrapped up in these news headlines, and of course how meme culture can escalate a lot of these different things, and the fact that most people just get their news these days from memes and jokes and all these different things. Are less educated from people who are actually doing their real research. That's why, of course, we always say do your own research. Of course, remember this video is for entertainment, educational purposes only. not your dad. I'm not your financial advisor. This is my opinion. I make these videos so that I can tell you guys what I think. Of course, remember, do your own research when it comes down to it. And of course, I would recommend that everybody out there comment down below, letting us know what you guys think. Always interested. Of course, as always, I think we'll keep this going. Comment down below the country that you're in, where you're watching this from, and what you think about the recent news. And of course, the future of Bitcoin, what you think, and how you're going to be capitalizing on it. And all that's it for now. Hope you guys have enjoyed this content. I'll see you guys next video. Have a good one.